Welcome to the broadcast, my dears. As you can see, my lip has swollen up on one side, and I've been sitting here for half an hour under a fan and with an ice cube to try and ameliorate the situation, but it's still there, and I want to get on with the broadcast, my dear. So if my lips look even wonkier than usual, which is saying something, that's why. It's not herpes. It's not frostbite. It's nothing at all undesirable. It's the fact that I'm allergic to summer, most probably, because it does happen once in a while. It usually goes down a little bit quicker though, so I've tried to compensate by adding lots of lip liner all over the place. So I know that I look even more ridiculous than usual. Probably. I mean, I always look pretty much ridiculous, so you're used to it, aren't you, my dears? But that's the situation. Yeah. I want to start off by talking about Meghan's range. The new, as ever, products that have been launched. Because you really couldn't make up the absolute inanity of it all, could you? Well, first of all, we had this teaser a few days ago telling us how sweet it is to be loved by you. And she was stroking a bridge, dressed as Puss in Boots she was. She said, "We love hearing all of your excitement for this week's seasonal drop." How? How have you been hearing about it, Meghan? All of your comments are switched off because you daren't put them on. Do you understand? The comments are disabled. So what are they? The voices in your head that have been calling to you? 3 more sleeps. Oh, she was working up the hype and the anticipation. And then it came to As Ever Eve. No more sleeps. Here we are. It's the event that the whole wide world's been waiting for. My spread. Ugh. She presents herself as Queen of the Swingers, the jungle VIP, airing her smelly old feet. And I wonder where she got the inspiration for that imagery. The mind boggles, doesn't it, my dears? Meghan, you are not Christmas, whether or not you come but once a year. You're selling what we can all buy down the local rinky-dink, and we can pay less for it, and for better. You know, it's overpriced junk. I will say that it's not hideously overpriced, but when you compare what you can get for a few dollars less, for just as good or better quality, it makes a mockery of this whole setup. And then, yesterday, came the big reveal, the drop. Yummies and honeys. And fruit spreads, she dares call them. There are no coincidences, are there? Yummies and honeys and fruit spreads. Yeah, should be calling them fruit crumbles next, and fruit tarts, and fruit basketeers. I don't think so. Give that dog a bone. Come explore our summer drop. Live now. Well, I wouldn't have minded actually buying a few pieces myself so that we could have had a bit of fun with me testing them out, but they only ship to the 50 states of the United States. Although she plans to go global in time, of course, so we'll see what's coming. The photographs of her garden are very pretty, there's no doubt about that. Sadly, we can't buy the garden. So, beyond the marketing and the story, we're left with overpriced, generic supermarket produce. And that's about all it is. We are pleased to share that many favourites from our debut As Ever collection are back, and we've added something new. We hope you find some special treats that bring extra joy to you and your loved ones. Oh, darling, you're such a wonderful customer service executive. Alongside the pieces you already know and love, we're introducing 2 more items. Ooh, whoopee-doo! Meghan is spreading for us yet again, and this time it's apricot spread. Apricot, and I've heard some say that it looks like she's selling her earwax. Our newest spread balances a delicate sweetness and a gentle brightness. What is all this sophistry? A gentle brightness that lets this beautiful stone fruit shine. Oh, she's spreading it on thickly, isn't she? More thick than her spread. And of course, this was, before it sold out, obtainable in keepsake packaging. The idea stolen from me, which basically means trussed up in a cardboard box for her. Keepsake packaging that sold out within an hour or within a few seconds, you know. See how the idea that she stole from me, the idea of a keepsake, see how that was the idea that was promoted the most and sold out the first? Yeah, the best ideas come from me, And then what she claims is a limited edition. A limited edition orange blossom honey. And the blurb that she provides is like something written by a bad estate agent. With its beautiful golden hue, an enticing aroma, delicate floral notes and subtle citrus undertones, this honey is a standout addition to your pantry. Oh, you think so, honey bun? You think so, do you? When you're speaking about limited editions, that doesn't mean a tiny run to ensure that you can say that you sold out, lovey. That is not what limited... we're talking about rare vinyl, or a Hockney print, a Fabergé egg. This is what is called a limited edition, not a jar of your godforsaken honey. There's something else we can't wait to share. Our debut as ever rosé, with soft notes of stone fruit, gentle minerality. You couldn't make it up. And a lasting finish. This bespoke blend is launching just in time for summer entertaining and will be available for purchase on July the 1st. It should be ready now, Meghan. Are you not organised in any way, shape or form? It should be ready now. What sort of service is this? And everything else that she's providing on this drop is the same old shit that we've seen before. The same old shit. Exploring the collection, as she puts it, takes all but 25 seconds. There's nothing else to discover other than hype, 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 hype. Don't believe the hype. Well, I'm going to return to the Duchess of Sussex in a few moments, but first of all I would like to wish many happy returns to the Prince of Wales, because he turns 43 years old today. Yes, he does. And he was wished a happy birthday from Catherine and the kids, and from Orla the dog, and her litter of 4 spaniels. But what a day for a birthday. William was born on the 21st of June 1983, 43 years ago, and today, the 21st of June, is the summer solstice, of course, isn't it? It's the longest day of the year, the shortest night, and darkness returns after today, which is a sweet relief for the likes of me. I hate wishing life away. I really hate wishing life away, but the next 3 months or so, high summer here, it's me with the shutters drawn under fans, hiding away from it all, I'm afraid. Not my favourite season. But he's Cancerian, of course, like me, is the prince, and it's a very royal sign. The late Diana was Cancerian. The Queen is Cancerian, our dear Queen Camilla. Prince George is Cancerian, so we have 2 Cancerian kings en route. Isn't that something, if all goes to plan, that is? We're ruled by the moon, of course. And, well, let's not talk about King Edward VIII, of course, who abdicated because he was Cancerian too. It's a water sign, and it's full of sensitivity. We have a maternal nature. We're known as the homemakers. We like the domestic side of life. We have great emotional depth and empathy, sentimentality, stubbornness, and possessiveness, and we can be downright crabby, my dear. And just to indulge a little bit of talk of the zodiac, I'm sorry to those of you who aren't into it at all, and I pick and choose when I am, just because I'm such a typical Cancerian, so I indulge a little bit of it for the imagination. But the sun arrived in Cancer yesterday, this year, and people talk about being on the cusp when it comes to their star signs and their birth signs. I hear this quite a lot. Well, I'm on the cusp of this, that, and the fourth. Well, I was very much into astrology, especially as a child, not so much these days, but as a child I was, and I had my birth chart read back then. And each year, if you're not aware of this, the sun moves into a particular sign of the zodiac depending on the location that one is in the world at the moment of birth. So even if one is born during the 2 or 3 days where the lines between Gemini and Cancer can blur, my understanding is that you are actually one or the other. You are either Gemini or Cancer. You're not both. But if you are born at the beginning of Cancer, as William is on the first day of Cancer this year, then you are heavily influenced by Gemini. Or if you're born at the tail end of Cancer, as I am, then I would be more influenced by Leo, but that doesn't mean that either of us are actually on the cusp. We were born at a specific point in time. We're both Cancerian. The water sign of Cancer, with William being a little closer to the airiness of the Gemini, and with me a little closer to the fires of Leo. The Duchess of Gloucester, for example, turned 79 yesterday, so she is a Gemini, with some sort of influence on her nature from close by Cancer. Do you understand? And reports suggest that William has spent a private day today with his family. Of course, family is the priority for a Cancerian. Now, have you ever read these excerpts or extracts from Tom Quinn's book, Yes Ma'am, The Secret Life of Royal Servants? Tensions developed between William and Harry as a result of Meghan's warm, friendly, hug-everyone approach. It made William uncomfortable because she hugged him virtually every time they bumped into each other. The hugging and cheek-kissing fueled gossip among the staff that Meghan was flirting with William, which she was obviously not. Maybe he put that in there for legal reasons. But the tense atmosphere caused by all the touchy-feeliness and the resultant gossip deepened the rift between the brothers. Well, my hunch has always been that Harry was rather guilty, actually, of encouraging Meghan in her belief that all the boys fancied her, because he liked to think that William wanted his gal, and that all the men in the royal family were just so turgid in her presence, you know, that they were aroused and excited by her company. He told us almost as much in the Netflix documentary that they were very taken with her, very taken. The suggestion was there. And of course she enjoyed the suggestion and entertained it. And it created a little bit of what she liked to think was frisson between she and William and the other guys in the family, where there actually was none of a sexual nature. And of course she even tried throwing herself at Cate. As we know, Cate wasn't having any of it. You know, she is quite happy to accept hugs from the hoi polloi. We see her do it all the time with the crowds of admirers. She is warm and she can be tactile in an elegant fashion. But as I've said recently, Catherine knows when to be decorous. You know, it's about decorum. I said that she knows when to be appropriate. It's about the appropriate time, the appropriate place. And there would have been an appropriate time for sister-in-law hugs and closeness if a relationship had been allowed to evolve through the years, you understand? Not through the minutes or hours or days, through the years. And it could have been something really very, very special, one of the most special relationships that Meghan could ever have had the luck and chance to come across. But she was impatient. She expected the entire family to immediately worship at her altar and take notice of her. And, you know, she tells us that hugging is jarring for a lot of Brits, as she found out. No, hugging is not jarring for Britishers, as all of you guys, whether at home or abroad, have seen over these years of doing the broadcast, the interactions with the people of this kingdom. We're very warm, very tactile. We're not averse to hugs. It's not the age of Victoria. Hugging is not the thing that is jarring for a lot of Brits, my dear. You are. It's been wonderful weather for a week at the races, hasn't it, at Royal Ascot? And it's been a right romper, with a lot of yellow worn in the wardrobes of the royals and celebrities and all of the crowd. Peter and Harriet continued their romance, with plenty of public displays of affection and some summer loving. Harriet's family home is actually in the small little villagey area of South Cerney, Cirencester. That's the place where I was visiting in Gloucestershire that I mentioned to you probably a couple of months ago now. That's where I spent a good 24 hours catching up with an old mate. Lovely part of the country. And Harriet's mum's very involved with the Christian church there, as is Harriet, actually. She's a practicing Christian. Zara was full of smiles as ever, in a very sleek wardrobe, and Prince William looked dapper, handing out trophies to all he surveyed. There was some brawling, which made the headlines. Yeah, blood sports seem to have arrived at Ascot. Boys will be boys, won't they, my dear, especially when booze and sunshine is involved. I've always found that intense sunshine brings out, well, a lovely atmosphere in many environments, as we all know, but it's another reason that I'm not a huge fan of the sunshine, especially in cities, busy cities. I notice that it brings out a violent tendency in some, and a feeling, an undercurrent of aggression. Do you ever get that, my dear? A sort of fractiousness bubbles up under the surface, and it hasn't really been a humid heat here. We're very lucky we don't get so much humid hot weather. It's usually a pretty dry, crackling, fresh heat that we get here, but still that aggression can bubble up under the surface like hot tarmac. So, yeah. Naughty boys, a little bit infra-dig was that. A bit of drama on the occasion. The Duchess of Gloucester wore a hat that was created by the King's Foundation graduate Barnaby Horn. And old Horny recently completed the Chanel and King's Foundation Métier d'Art Millinery Fellowship in partnership with Le 19M, which takes place at Highgrove Gardens. The King's Foundation offers a range of educational programs that protect traditional skills such as millinery, and Ascot, of course, is famous for its association with hats. The association goes back for centuries, so the next generation of milliners are learning the skills to keep these specialist crafts alive. Did you see the Marchioness of Salisbury get her phone out? Yeah, she was in carriage with their Majesties, and out it came. That was a bit of a first, really, and quite naughty, if you ask me. You are in it, dear, my dear Marchioness. You are in the King's carriage. You're being filmed doing it. Does one really need to capture the Marchioness's eye view? Ah, well, the King didn't mind, so why should I suppose. The Edinburghs were celebrating their 26th wedding anniversary. Nigel Farage was one of those spotted in the crowd, as were the Spencer girls, Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Sue Hussey, who always lights up the environment with her smile, doesn't she? Wonderful to see our Lady Sue. And making quite a splash was our J.K. Rowling. She turned up with our husband Neil in a very rare appearance together with him. Yeah, made a few ripples in the press, of course. She's been in the press so much lately. This week it was because she was having a bit of a spat with Boy George, who doesn't like her stance on biological sex and, claims that she's a TERF and a transphobe and all these kind of things, my dear. And actually, I see that that Boy George, during one of these spats, put Marilyn's name in his mouth. Now, Marilyn, I'm talking about this Marilyn, by the way. The Marilyn. Gorgeous Marilyn, who is a viewer, I'm proud to say, of this very broadcast. Tunes in religiously to watch, I'm very lucky to say. One of my true heroes and absolute icons, I'm humbled to say, has become a soul sister of mine and a friend through the broadcast. And I saw Marilyn, my dear, that would put your beautiful name in her mouth. When I say her, I'm speaking of Boy George, also known as Gina, who I've got nothing against, by the way, and I've got love for, but, I think Marilyn and I both have disagreements with him, as does J.K. Rowling, over the situation with trans and TERFs and letters communities and all this kind of thing. He was accusing Marilyn. Boy George was saying, I didn't realise, that Marilyn was such a conservative and this, that and the fourth. Well, Boy George, who is known as Gina, by the way, to the likes of Marilyn. So if you get confused when I discuss characters like Boy George, I might refer to George as she or as Gina. This is just a sort of lingo between associates, you understand. But obviously Gina knows you a lot better than me, Marilyn. But I have the feeling that you might agree with me that she doesn't seem to understand that just because you have some traditional views, or you're not going to say that the sky is green and that, where was I? Sky, green, and that the grass is blue. That doesn't necessarily mean that it has to put you in the conservative bracket. It's this sort of labelling, isn't it? And one can be conservative with the small c, and life can be more nuanced than that, can't it? So I didn't really appreciate her putting you in that box, my dear, or Gina. But, I understand that's not my battle to fight. But, I feel protective over Marilyn. And for some godforsaken reason, they've suspended Marilyn from X this week, which is just ridiculous. I don't know what Marilyn said that was controversial or what Marilyn posted that might have been controversial. But Marilyn is harmless. Harmless. Because like me, even if the claws come out, it's done with a wink. Do you understand? It's done with a wink and a wiggle. So, shame on X. And just to say, Marilyn, my dear, I've been grateful enough to receive your messages with your phone number, and I am absolutely thrilled. Please don't take my lack of response to that as aloofness or anything other than utter overwhelmed gratitude, because it's a dream of mine to be in touch with you in that way. As you know, I sent communication to you, you were hacked, and since then, actually before then, I have had such trouble. Don't give me trouble. I've had such troubles, and I've been in such a spin, and I've been going through the gigs in so many ways. I've had to use temporary handsets of my own. I would be so useless at the moment with even my existing friends. If we were to start communicating by phone at this point in time, you would end up hating me, because you would think that I was either ignoring you or not returning calls this, that and the fourth, because my life is in such disarray at the moment that I simply can't focus on those kind of things at the moment, even though I dearly want to and would love to. So, I just say that to say that I see your messages. I look forward to a point in the future where, if you're still willing, then we can absolutely jive together and have so much fun, because, can you imagine the double trouble, Marilyn, you and I, trotting the streets, driving the men wild? Oh yeah, what a delicious thought, my dear. Well, our time will come. Our time will come. Gorgeous Marilyn. What a superstar. Always. Julie Costas, thank you for your message in my response to the revelation that I gave you on the previous broadcast that a princess of Saudi Arabia and the Saudi Arabia ambassador to the United States by the name of Rima are basketeers who approached me for a keepsake. Yes, a few people responded to that. And Julie said, having worked in diplomacy, I can attest to the fact you have quite a few Saudi fans. Also, Her Royal Highness Princess Rima is lovely and hard-working. I made arrangements for her and her entourage many a time when they visited our office in NYUN headquarters, and I think you're talking about your role at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, my dear, and thank you so much for letting me know that I'm popular. With the Saudi crew, very excited to hear about it. In my personal life, I'm very popular with them because I'm glamorous, and the Saudi ladies that I know of a certain kind are dripping in glamour. They appreciate glamour, but they're also fiercely bright, fiercely intelligent, with a great sense of humour, a love of beauty. But because so many of them are so filthy rich, there are some things that money can't buy, you understand. And sometimes they like a bit of, as Boy George would say, cheapness and beauty, put it that way. And they get bored and oh so tired of a certain way and a certain life and a certain circle and a certain what's expected of them, that it's refreshing for them to have a little bit of a breakout moment. Do you understand? But that's really lovely to know. I have a few little guilty white folk viewers, who I'm sure I have affection for in some way, but, I'm not the type that sheds guilty white tears, and they clutch their pearls when I moan about immigration. But of course, I'm all for healthy immigration of all kinds and from all quarters. What I'm not for is great big mass immigration of hundreds and thousands and millions at speed into an entirely different culture, my dear. That's what I moan about. And yes, Muslim populations in particular coming to our shores in great numbers, that all seem to be young men, by the way, so some guilty white folk who cry guilty white tears will clutch their pearls when I say this kind of thing. But there are others out there who are sophisticated enough to understand the differences between civilized, progressive, assimilating people and peoples, and then there are others who form an existential threat to our culture. And I've said it before, and I will say it again, a great many of my friends and lovers and associates are Muslim, culturally Muslim, a few devoutly religiously Muslim, but more of a minority, most just culturally, familiarly Muslim. And I have as much love for them as I have for those of other religions, or none in my life, you understand. But my dear basketeer Rima, who is ambassador to the United States, she is actually the great-granddaughter of the founder of what has come to be known as Saudi, modern Saudi Arabia. Yeah, she's his great-granddaughter. Her grandpapa is the former Crown Prince Sultan. As an absolute monarchy, as Saudi Arabia is, and an Islamic state as it is, then I think that I'd be advised to set one of my stilettos in it. Wouldn't I, my dear? Which is actually a great shame. I've got such a curiosity about these beautiful places that I've heard of, such as Jordan, Lebanon and Egypt and all the rest of it, my dear. But I value my life. I don't really fancy doing 55 years hard labour. And yeah, it's a real shame because, yeah, the women certainly adore me and I'd adore them. The men would go crazy for me, my dear. They go crazy for me. I mean, the Muslim men here do. Go absolutely nuts for me. I can't leave the door without them pouncing, but you know. But those nations do their thing. We do ours, don't we? It's about respecting the different ways that our cultures have evolved. Layla says, River, Saudi Arabia has a king, not a sultan. Sorry if I got that wrong, my dear. I might have confused the title with his name. I don't know, my dear. I'm like the late Diana and Harry. I'm an airhead. I'm a bimbo. I haven't received an education, so yeah, I do get these things mixed up and muddled. Apologies. Andre left a rather spicy comment. This was a month ago, and said, and he was speaking in response to my revelation that I've had many Pakistani lovers, for example. You know, I've had them from all around the globe, but I've enjoyed many Pakistani lovers too. I lived in Saudi Arabia and the UAE and found Pakistani men loving having services rendered, even at a moment's notice. Deliciously caramel and well endowed. My memories are very fond. How wonderful for you, Andre. Sounds like you had a marvellous time living in Saudi Arabia. Maybe I should try it. Well, all of these Eastern societies, including the religious ones, have a hidden world of non-heterosexual activity. They truly do. Actually, it's actually far less taboo than in Western progressive societies in many ways. And it's not even considered gay behaviour. You know, they don't categorise things in the same way that we do in the Western world and throughout the Anglosphere. It's very hard to even impart or describe if one hasn't associated very intimately with the peoples of those nations or read a lot of material about it or actually been to these places. One has to erase everything that one knows and understands about sexuality. And men from the most devoutly religious societies will often shag anything. Anything. Believe me. And and in all cultures where you find religion opiating the masses, you will find that there is a veneer, and then you will find a hidden world beneath it, from the pastors and preachers of the Bible Belt. I mean, how many times do we find out of the horrors lurking within, or the Catholic Church, or, you know, pick any church, or pick, you know, the yogic world of the Hindus, the gurus that come along, to the imams and clerics and devotees of the Muslim world as well. It's found all over. Well, you know, Iran is in the press so much recently because of all the nasty goings on between Iran and Israel. And my Iranian friends and those fruits of Persia that I love dearly are the modern type who deeply oppose the regime. And then again, there is the friction with those who are traditionalists within it who support the regime. My understanding is that they are a powerful minority. So there is such nuance to be found throughout all of these nations. Now, one thing I will say is that I don't care to see the flags of other nations bunting my own country. And yes, I will say my own country, but I will not apologise for saying that I am sick to death of seeing the flags of other nations being waved in our streets by the hundreds of thousands. Fuck off. I don't care which country it is. Fuck off. You know, and I certainly don't mean on this circumstance to specifically pick on those who are for Palestine, shall we say. It's all very nuanced. It all has its nuances. I prefer to send my heart's wishes out to the innocent souls of any nation who are being massacred at this moment in time. Any nation, my soul cries for the innocent children of Israel and Palestine and any other war-torn territory. It truly does so. But Jake Wallace-Simons makes the point today in the Telegraph that a certain faction of the pro-Palestine movement infers a hatred for Britain, and we seem to be providing the breeding ground for that hatred, don't we? This is the thing. It's in our prisons, for example, and it's burgeoning throughout all of our institutions, our lawmaking institutions. And there was a serious breach this week when activists who are pro-Palestine infiltrated an army facility. And actually, it's shameful. How deeply would you have to hate Britain to damage our means of defending it? Last night, activists broke into RAF Breeze Norton on electric scooters and sprayed red paint into the engines of 2 Airbus Voyage aircrafts that are used to refuel airborne fighter jets. In an additional flick of symbolism, one of the planes bore the Union flag and had previously carried the royal family. The answer to my question is, of course, quite a lot. These people detest our country, our values, our traditions, our history, and evidently our national security. I have to keep taking little fan breaks. And I think my lip's gone down just a tad, hasn't it, my swollen lip? Just a little tad. The Prince of Wales was hanging out with Cate Blanchett again this week. They're becoming fabulous friends, and she was wearing a fabulous pair of glasses, I've got to tell you. They were visiting one of the Earthshot finalists at Colorifix, and this was a demonstration of how the natural world is powering a sustainable dye revolution. Miss Blanchett developed a deep bond with the Prince of Wales in recent years, and she's a wonderful ambassador for his enterprises. What a great find she was, and a member of the Prize Council. Toxic chemicals are eliminated and water waste is reduced by using DNA to copy natural colours from plants, animals or microbes, creating dyes without using harmful chemicals. This innovation offers hope for a cleaner, sustainable future in fashion. And during Children's Hospice Week, the Princess of Wales shared a message honouring the vital role that children's hospices play in supporting seriously ill children and their families. No parent expects to hear that their child has a serious health condition that could shorten their life. Sadly, this is the reality faced by thousands of families across the country, leaving them heartbroken. And I noticed here that she used a hyphen when she was writing heartbroken, which is rather unusual these days because it's a very antiquated way of writing heartbroken. But I approve, because I'm rather antiquated too. So are my sensibilities, so I'll approve. Yeah, leaving them heartbroken, fearful of the future, and often desperately isolated. As patron of various hospices, I hope you will join me in celebrating the life-changing work they do and thanking them for the vital care they provide to children and families experiencing the most challenging times. Catherine. I want to finish up by flashing a little keepsake on the screen. It's been a while, but, just one of them. I think I've shown all the photographs of keepsakes that have been sent out that have come in. Most recipients of the keepsakes keep them private. They don't share photographs, but I've been lucky enough to be able to share many with you. But I think this is possibly the final one for now. If you haven't received your keepsake and you've paid for it, and I'm only aware of 1 or 2 that didn't, and they've been resent keepsakes, which have hopefully turned up by now or will do soon then. But if you haven't and you haven't let me know, let us know by email. Email in, please. And yes, for those that have asked, I will offer more in some shape or form if I'm able to. I've still, even 6 months thence, I've still only made a dent in the requests that came in originally within the first few hours of mentioning them. So I must prioritise those who are already in the queue before publicising any more. Thank you for understanding. Well, Christine added my portrait to her collection of treasures and tiaras, and she said, "Dearest River and Miss Fairfax, firstly, I would like to thank you for your wonderful broadcast. I find you funny, fair, sassy, compassionate, intelligent, creative, and just fabulous. Thank you, my dear. You bring a joy and light to my day whenever I watch your show. I was hospitalised recently for post-COVID bacterial pneumonia and issues with my asthma. Upon returning home, I was thrilled to see that my keepsake had arrived." Well, I'm so sorry to hear that you've been poorly, my dear, and wishing you a very speedy recovery. I've continued to feel a little better every day, and when I look over at this sweet display, it just makes me smile. Yes, well, I'm so very happy to hear that, my dear, and I surround myself with things that make me smile. That's what I try to do. things that just give me that little moment of uplifting. It's very important. Even my husband, a real man's man, military type, went over and smiled brightly at the display. He rubbed my shoulder and looked at me with a little sparkle in his eye and said, "Whatever makes you happy." I'm not quite sure how to take that, my dear, I've got to tell you, but I'll take it as a compliment. I've placed the items under my parents' family crests. I love the cards and flowers you sent as well. You're most welcome. Thank you very much indeed, my dear Christine. And thank you to all basketeers for tuning in. Thank you so much for your company. I am going to get back to all of my fans. I've got a portable fan and a non-portable fan on me most of the time when I'm not broadcasting. I've been sweltering away in this heat. When I complain about the heat, I'm talking about while I'm broadcasting to you. The rest of the time is fine, even though it's insufferable. I have fans all over the place. This kind too. So that's right, it's just when I'm broadcasting, my dear, and there's a couple of bright lights on me as well. Ooh. Gives me fever. But thank you for joining me, my dear. While I cool off, I will see you next time. Take care, Tool Pip.